Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for joining me today. I'm Rose Volbruch. I'm the founder at Biomesight. So today I'd like to tell you a little bit more about a new feature that we've just released, which is called the Cohort Analyzer. So I'm really excited about this new feature because it allows anyone to create machine learning models on gut microbiome data without any coding or data science skills. I believe this is the world's first no-code platform for building microbiome machine learning models. I might be wrong, but I'm not aware of any others that currently allow this, enable this for end users. So currently, as of today, which is the 2nd of November, this feature is available on request only, and we've made it available to a small subset of users so that we can get early feedback before making it available to a wider user base. So if you would like early access, please reach out to us at our normal support email, support@biomesight.com. But obviously this feature is an alpha testing stage. So I mean, we're not expecting it to be fully production ready. It is just to gauge, to get some feedback in terms of how usable it is at this point. So what is the purpose of these machine learning models? So models help us to understand the key differences between our cohort of interest and the controls. So the controls are everyone in the data set that does not meet the specific cohort criteria. So you are able to specify the cohort criteria using our cohort selector that is currently available on Biomesight to everyone. And then once we understand these key differences, we can then use the machine learning models for the following purposes. So firstly, identify potential therapeutic targets. For example, which bacteria, archaea, nutrients, metabolites, end products, or enzymes, or any other calculations like, say, diversity, are most important in terms of how it deviates between the cohorts and controls. For example, we found that hydrogen sulfide toxin producers are one of the main differentiators for those experiencing brain fog. Another use case is to understand the impact of certain interventions. So whether it be supplements, medications, lifestyle, or dietary factors. So one example is that we looked at people who consume the prebiotic GOS, for example, Biomino, and we found that GOS users had higher bifidobacteria, and this aligns with the expected impact of GOS. And some of the planned features that we have in mind are before and after cohort analysis. So we can use this can use the same technique to identify cohort shifts between specific interventions to see how effective the chosen interventions actually were. Another planned feature is to predict the impact of specific interventions based on your specific microbiome sample. This will then form the basis of further personalized recommendations. Just a reminder that our current personalized recommendations are based on Dr. Warlach's recommended ranges, combined with the interventions that we found from the literature, for example, from PubMed studies. Another planned feature, and this would be further forward in the future, is a symptom and condition likelihood predictions. So we're also using the cohort analyzer for our in-house studies. So I know many of you are participating in our long COVID study, and some of you are also participating in our autoimmune skin conditions study. And so this cohort analyzer is helping us to get a very, very good and quick overview of the data set without any coding. So literally takes us 5 minutes to get an overview of what are the key differentiators between two data sets. So let me get going on the actual demonstration. Okay, so where do you access this from? So we've added a new menu item called the Cohort Analyzer. And from there, once you press that, you will be presented with basically a screen with two tabs. One is to create new models, and one is to view existing models. So I'll start by showing you how to create new models. You see that this is a three-step process. The first step is to define the cohort and control set. So I'm going to do one just to illustrate how you might use this. Let's say we want to do one on, so just something to point out is that ideally you want to choose a cohort with at least 200 samples. So you see a lot of these are still very small. So some of the ones that have a good cohort already is brain fog. And that's actually under symptoms. I'm just going to refresh this. I think I might have been logged in too long. Okay, now I can press B for brain fog. You see, we actually have 290 participants. So you can also combine this with other criteria. So you could say conditions equal to medications, probiotics, or supplements. And we are going to be expanding the foundations of the cohort selected. So say, for example, so that you can look at certain age ranges, and also when it comes to controls, you want to age match the controls as well, but that's all coming in the future. So yeah, so you select your cohort, and then all the samples that don't fit the criteria of the cohort are then the remaining controls. So you set your selected cohort, and then there's an option here, but this is only available to internal users of Biomesight, and this is to export the data set and to maybe analyze it offline. This is not available to external users on Biomesight data, because obviously when it comes to data sharing, nobody has opted in. Our average users hasn't opted in for analysis outside of us as a company. And this is a feature that's coming in the future, where you can configure model settings. You may want to say things like, if you want to exclude outliers, how many iterations you want to do, if you've got preferences for specific machine learning algorithms. And then anyway, so currently you just select your cohort, and then you kick off the process by initiating the analyzer. To see, you are given feedback in real time as to what is going on. So at this stage, at the MVP stage, you have to keep the browser open to run this, because if you close the browser, that basically will kill the job. So don't do that, keep your browser open. I'm not going to obviously let you wait. This takes about 5 minutes. Currently with the data set of 2000, as we expand the data set, we'll have to make this more efficient, and we will put this job onto a queue so that it's able to run without you having to stay online for the duration. So let me just give you an example of some of the models that we built previously in the past. You'll see the one that I just kicked off is in status initiated, but one that I was referring to previously is this brain fog model, which is the same one that I just kicked off. So what are we looking at here? So you can see you've got the model, you've got the day that it was trained, the status, which is trained, which means that it's finished. Initiated means it's been initiated. Create, the creator, the number of samples in your cohort, the number of samples in your control set. And this is the expression that made up the cohort criteria. I mean, we're going to make this more user-friendly so that you don't have to look at an expression like this, but you'll be able to see the control the same way as when I showed you the selector itself. So you can basically just see visually what was included in your cohort. And then what we've got here on the left are 2 algorithms. So we started pretty much with just 2 algorithms, and these 2 algorithms are, we chose them because it makes the model, the features that's important within the model very, very transparent. So we could basically query the model to understand which features are most important in terms of determining whether a sample falls within the cohort or into the control set. Okay, so we're looking at the random forest classifiers. This one has the highest score. So in the future, we obviously want to have much higher scores than this. This tells you how the model performed on the training set. So just a little bit of background in terms of how we do this. So we split the cohort and the control set into a training set and a test set. And then we use the test set to actually validate how it scores. So yeah, so over time, as we build our data set and as we expand on the some of the features of how the cohort analyzer works, we'd hopefully bring this score up to a lot higher accuracy. So let's look at then what are the features that this model has found to be most key in identifying whether somebody suffers from brain fog or not. So see at the top, we've got the Sulfide simplex, a specific species with an importance of 0.49%. So the model itself will have a total importance adding up to 100. So what we're looking at here is the feature matrix sorted by importance. So then we have an unknown genus. I don't know much about this one. But if we scroll down, you see we've got intolerance to lactose. So what does this actually mean? You can click on the box plot and it'll give you the figures. I mean, sometimes it's not that easy to see what is actually going on inside of the box plot itself. But you'll see that the cohort has a higher average, it's got a higher upper compared to the controls. It's also got a slightly higher median. So that's interesting that when it comes to intolerance lactose, this is actually not measuring how intolerant somebody is to lactose, it actually measures the lactase producers. So this is a surprising finding. This isn't what you'd expect. You would expect lower lactase producers with people with different issues, but I guess that doesn't mean that this is indicative of brain fog, while it might be indicative of somebody with lactose intolerance in the first place. And that is something that this is a question that we can actually face by selecting people that is indicated that they have suspected lactose intolerance or that they have known lactose intolerance, and we can see how this actually lines up in terms of that. If we scroll down, you can see we've got some more hydrogen sulfide producers, the species level, the genus level. We go down. Some of these are surprising because we don't necessarily know much about these. Again, more hydrogen sulfide producers. We scroll down. You see that, yeah, we actually have the toxin hydrogen sulfide also featuring in the model itself. And so this basically makes sense because with hydrogen sulfide being a known toxin and known to cause issues like brain fog and tiredness, fatigue, etc., this does mean that the data set within Biomesight is supporting what is known in the literature at the moment. So this is a good indication that even with our small data set, it still is able to give reasonable output at the moment. So it's quite interesting. It will be quite interesting to see what we find as our data set grows. As you know, we have a couple of studies that we're running in-house at the moment. We've got the autoimmune skin conditions. So you see at the moment we have just 99 samples within our cohort. We ideally want to get this number to over 200 before we give you some feedback in terms of what our findings are. And similarly for long COVID, we did have a lot of interest in recent weeks in our long COVID subsidized kit. Just a reminder that we have subsidized kits for not just long COVID, but also for autoimmune skin conditions. And those kits sell for just £50. So just get in touch with us if you meet the criteria for those conditions, and we'd be happy to give you a link where you can buy that kit. The only criteria is then that you would need to indicate within your health profile, in Biomesight, that you have these conditions. So you can see these are mine. I actually don't have insomnia anymore. I forgot to update. It's important to keep your conditions up to date, because in time we will also be taking that into consideration when it comes to identifying samples that fit our criteria. So I hope that was clear. Just a reminder that this feature isn't available to everyone. And so if you would like access, please get in touch. We would be really happy to give you feedback, but just also that we can't give proper support at this point because they are, it is pretty much in the alpha stage. So we are learning and we are updating it very, very quickly at this point in time. So that's that. If you have any questions, please don't hesitate to reach out to us. Speak soon. Thank you so much. Bye.